able to listen. We are not able to receive that if we are constantly doing. Now, there's a time to do, but there's also a time to listen and to be still. So we're talking about listening in terms of being meditative on the one hand, but on the other hand, we're talking about listening by calming our conscious phase of mind. Now, what we do on Sunday mornings during our meditation is we have a period of silence. I can imagine that some people may find it difficult to just be still and not have their mind racing, not have their thoughts go from one thing to another to another. Just be still. Well, guess what? This is a discipline that is important for us to develop so that we can receive. We're not going to manifest our dreams, goals, and aspirations until we are truly able to receive the insight and the revelation and the realizations from God. I mentioned gardening, fishing, things like that, listening to soothing music. Well, when you're doing those things, if any of you do any of those things or anything like that, when you're doing those things, don't you realize that it's kind of hard to be worrying when you're doing that? If you like to garden, you like to paint or draw or maybe play music or whatever. When you're doing that, when you're engaged in those activities, doesn't your mind wander away from the issues of the day, the challenges and the problems, even if only for a moment? Not that they're not there, not that they've gone away, they've evaporated, but your mind has gone from those things to something that is relaxed, to something that is soothing, to something that is peaceful, to something that is calming. And guess what? When your mind goes to that place, you open yourself up to receive the good that you are looking for. And what happens is that you may not receive an idea, a flash of inspiration at that moment, but that's not the point. The point is that you have prepared your consciousness to do so. And listening is kind of like planting seeds, kind of like gardening. You plant a seed, and you don't expect that seed to manifest right there and then. You expect it to germinate right before your eyes. You know that it takes a little while for that seed to manifest. But you also know that you have to prepare the soil. You also know that you have to plant it properly. You also know that you have to nurture it and water it. When you take time to listen, what are you doing? You are nurturing those ideas. You are nurturing those goals and dreams that you have received from God. Sometimes we try and rush things along without nurturing it. It's claiming that we're doing, and claiming that it's important to do. Yes, it is important to do, but it's also important to be still and listen. Now, we're talking about manifesting our dreams and our goals. And we have this series of lessons. And some of you may have missed some of the lessons, and as it was said, we do have the CD of lesson 1 of this series. And I encourage you to pick it up today. We only have a few copies, so you need to get your copy today. Because there are a number of steps in the process. And perhaps, there's just one step that you are not doing that is keeping you from manifesting your dreams. We're talking about walking on a journey. Again, we listen for divine ideas. We listen to receive inspiration. And we are listening to God. And there's also a spirit of discernment that we need to have and we need to develop, because sometimes we get ideas and those ideas may be not from God, they may be from somewhere else, maybe from somebody, and they may not necessarily be for our highest good. So it is a matter of developing a spirit of discernment whereby we can discern which ideas are truly from God and which ideas are not. When we listen, we are able to unclutter our consciousness. Are you with me? We're talking about uncluttering our consciousness so that we can be open to receive. You gotta get rid of the old so that we can receive the new. God, the universe, is always speaking to us, always giving us ideas, always pushing and putting and sending things to us, pushing things towards us and sending things to us. The question is, are we open and receptive to receive those things? Listening gets us closer to God. Plain and simple. Listening gets us closer to our good. Our fundamental goal is to become closer to God. Step 10, accept. Accept the truth. Accept the truth that you are a child of God. Accept the truth that you are his beloved child in whom he is well pleased. Accept the truth that there is greatness and there is beauty and there is love within you. Accept the truth that there is power, there is intelligence, there is success, and there is wholeness within you. Regardless of what's expressing on the outer, that's secondary, tertiary. Accept the truth, which is that within your very being is success and greatness and wholeness and love and abundance. It's within you waiting to come forth. Accept the truth that your life has purpose. Your life has meaning. Accept that truth. Because if you don't, then you may be striving for something. You may say, yes, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to accomplish that. But if inside of you there's a there's a sense of unworthiness, if there's a sense of, well, I don't know if I really can do this thing, if there's a sense of inadequacy, and sometimes we, maybe our upbringing, things in our upbringing that, I was just watching Piers Morgan, I think is that, or he's on CNN, and he was interviewing Jada Pinkett Smith just the other night. I don't know if anybody saw it, and she was talking about her upbringing. Her parents were addicted to drugs, and they kept moving from one place to another, and on and on. Well, in her psyche is that experience, those experiences. And she had to overcome those experiences and accept the truth that in spite of all those outer things, and she was saying this on the interview, in spite of all those outer things, she realized, and we have to realize, that there was still greatness within us. And that we can overcome those things, even though they may indeed have happened. We're talking about accepting certain truths. Accept the truth that God, the universe,